Okay, we left off Yud Chesem Beis. Start over here, the third line on the page. Itmar, we had learned. Omar Lasoro. Person says to 10 people, Kis will get li ishti. I want you to write a get for my wife. Omar Rabbi Yochanan says, Shnayim, Mishum Eidim, Mishum Tanai. He's not saying the get is not a get unless you have 10 witnesses. He doesn't want the multiple witnesses. He just wants them to sign on the get. 2 are witnesses, and the others are only to meet a condition. So Rashi says, last wide line, so if the others are not witnesses, why does he want the others to sign? Right? So Rashi says, Lo hichtebo elo levaisha berabim. He wants it to be a public event to embarrass her. Let people know that what? That it's over. Tonight, Gomri Hitel begets Edel, heavy Gito El Kichos Mokulan. It's a condition. It's like, it's a get if you give me so much money. It's a get if you do something. So it's only a get. I'm only agreeable. It should be a get if an additional 8 witnesses sign on it. But they're not signing as witnesses. Okay? So the Gemara says, what about it? It's a carvel parcel. Also, it doesn't make a difference. If the whole issue is Levaisha, right? It's irrelevant if they're kosher or not kosher. It's interesting. There's a famous ritvo in Megillah. The halacha is this machlokes Rav Ravasi, whether you have to have a minyan for Kriyas Megillah. It's a question. We rule halacha that on Yudalit, one does not need a minyan. So the Gemara says that even Rav, who says that you don't need a minyan, rule like Rav, he himself, when he would read the Megillah, he'd always have a minyan. Because Pirsumi Nisa, the question is, because it's a time of Pirsumi Nisa, one doesn't need a minyan, because all Jews read the Megillah on Yudalit on the 14th. Well, no, it has to be in a setting of Pirsumi Nisa, which is 10. That's a public setting, 10. So it says that Rav himself, although he rules that one doesn't need it, but he took Ravasi into consideration, and he always was mocked, but he always made sure that there was always a minyan. So Ritva says there, what about including women into the 10? Could they be included into number 10? So he says, the Ritva, that we're not talking about you need a minyan because it's a halacha of a minyan. It's Pirsumi Nisa. The miracle has to be in a public setting. So even if they're women, it doesn't make a difference. That's public. So the minyan does not be comprised of men as for Kriyas HaTorah or for Kaddish or Kedusha. It's a whole different concept. That's the Ritva in Megillah and Daf Hey. 10 is a context of public. You make it public. You want to argue with the? I'm here to tell you what Ritva says. You want to take issue with the Ritva.
Minyan. What is the literal meaning of minyan?
Count. Minyan means the number.
The number. Don't we usually understand that to be men?
Yeah, sure. Because minyan outside of Kriyas Megillah always means men because it's not from the pasuk. Right. Because it's a pasuk Eidah, and Eidah, because we learn it from the Raglim, it means men.
It always means men.
Minyan normally means men. This is the exception. That's what the Ritva is saying.
It's a big lumbus to be able to extend that.
No, let me explain you something. Let me explain. There's a halacha, a person, what's Chil Hashem Barabim? What about if you have a person is told to do something in the presence of 1 million Gentiles? It's not Chil Hashem Barabim. In the presence of 10 Jews, that's Chil Hashem Barabim. That's a public desecration of God's name.
10 men.
It have to be 10 men. Even if women, it's not. It has to be men. If it's Jewish men. If it's non-Jews, it's not Chil Hashem Barabim. It's maybe a Chil Hashem, but it's not Chil Hashem Barabim. So, but over here, Pirsumi Nisa has nothing to do with a minyan. Minyan always is, it's referred to in Megillah as Dov Shebekdusha. Something that has to do with Dov Shebekdusha. It's to create a Kiddush Hashem. Kaddish is a Kiddush Hashem. Kriyas HaTorah is always, it's referred to as Dov Shebekdusha. You do something of sanctity. Right?
Why should we bring the number 10 into the discussion?
Because 10 is always considered, that's the microcosm of public. As we're saying, that's called public. That's public.
But 10 is the microcosm of public as it relates to men. I'm just saying, that's how we always think of it. You know, we don't include women in the minyan. There are all these
No, that's for a different reason. It's for a different
But you
reason.
just cited a
It's-
whole bunch of...
No, but every situation, women are not included.
Right.
Why they're not included? Because to be the microcosm, they have to be men. Okay, they're good. But factually, a public setting, it is a public setting, but public setting is not enough for Kriyas Torah Kedusha for all those things. It has to be a public setting comprised of men. But it is public. It is a public setting. So presuming these, it has to be publicized.
Could it be 10
They have relevance to it, maybe. Because all these, what about children? Right, what about children? Also not. You know, it has to be a person who has relevance to like Afein Hoyibos on this. Women also.
So, desecrating God's name in the presence of 50 women, Jewish women.
Simply not. It would not be Hashem Barami. Not be.
So the fact is, one desecrated God's name.
So what about it?
In front of many people.
What about in front of 1,000 goyim? It's
No,
not.
but I'm going from.
No.
I understand the concept of the Gentiles. That we wouldn't say that about women, but we would
Not
say
sure.
it here.
Not sure. Not sure.
Here we're saying if you publicize.
I'm not sure.
10 or more women is
I'm
okay,
not sure.
but here if you desecrate God's name in 10 or more women, it's no good. It doesn't.
Maybe.
There
Not sure.
seems like
Not
an
sure. Not sure.
inconsistency
A
here.
woman is Mechalashim, she's older like a man.
Yeah,
Why
sure.
shouldn't it be in front of 10?
No, because what's public?
Yeah.
Nin. Correct. Nin.
Okay. So I'm saying over here, he wants to embarrass her, so therefore he wants the addition 10, but the number, he wants 10 people. 2 to sign, and an additional 8. Kedei Levaisha. Shnai Mishamedim, Kul Mishamedim. Reishloksham, Kula Mishamedim. Now, he wants to get every person, he wants them to sign as witnesses. Well, 2 are sufficient. But whatever he determines, so they're signing as witnesses. He wants, it has to meet the standard of what witnesses.
Okay, so is Rabbi Yochanan saying that if not all 10 sign, but 2 witnesses of the 10 sign,
It's not valid. It's not valid.
Not valid.
No, because it's conditional.
And Rish
They both agree. They both agree. It's not good. You have to, all 10 have to sign.
So then what is Rabbi
But the question, the
saying
additional 8 that sign, are they signing as witnesses, or are they signing because that's the condition that he set?
So the condition is, it makes the get valid or not, even if you have 2 valid witnesses on that.
It's not. It's like saying, I'll give you the get on the condition give me $100. And she doesn't give the $100.
Everything else is perfect.
It's not a get,
It's not a get.
because it's conditional get.
So both would say that it's not a get.
It's not a get.
So it's just a question of what was the original intent.
Correct,
And how
correct,
we-
correct,
what
correct.
I think is the original.
Exactly.
There's not a fundamental argument. It's just what
No, the
do we
question is if
mean?
the person didn't explain, didn't reveal his intent. If he reveals his intent, there's no argument.
Right.
But if he didn't, what's the simple understanding of what his intent is? How do I evaluate his intent? Is it Tanai or is it Eidim? That's the argument. So now it's the Hechidam. What exactly did he say to them? He didn't say all of you should write a get for my wife. He says 10, write a get. He just addresses 10 people. He didn't say all of you. He just said to 10, write a get for my wife. One writes it, and the other 2. Even though the others are not involved, it's okay, because he says, among you, you should be involved in the get. But he said, I want all of you. I want all of you to write a get. So all means they will have to be included. When he said all, does it mean Tanai, in addition to the 2, or is it Eidim? My Beinayu. What is the halachic difference if it's Tanai, or it's, as we said, they all have to sign. So if they all have to sign, what's the difference if it's a condition or if they're witnesses? 2 sign on the day that it's dated. And the others sign subsequent days, the following days. So it's like Kosa Bayom, Kosa Balayla, right? If you say they're witnesses, the witnesses have to sign on the day that's what? That it's dated. But if you say it's a Tanai, so the first 2 signed, they're the witnesses. So the writing and the signing was on the same day. The additional was what? That's just, right? The one who says, Rabbi Yochanan says that the additional witnesses are purely a condition, it's kosher. Because it was nechtav and nechtam biyom. It was written and signed on the same day.
By two.
Because the two, that was the get already assumed the status of a get. Now we're talking the condition. The additional people signing, that's a condition. Umad yom mishum eidim. But according to Rish Lakish, he says no, all 10 sign as witnesses. So it wasn't fully signed on the day that it was written. Posel. So it's posel, it's not valid. That's like the predated get.
Include call to mean a precondition to the get being valid? Is it all of them have to sign?
No, not all of them. They can't all write it. How do you have 10 people writing the same get?
Is that a nonsensical statement? He says, write, all of you write and sign. I mean, it's just a nonsensical statement.
When a person says kisu get liishti, it means including the signing. It means including the signing. Writing get means the text and the signatures. It means both. Because all of them can't write the same get, because he's only giving one get to his wife. It's not each person should write one of the words or two of the words. Right? Again, we're going on what intent is. Okay, so that's what we understand. You all should be involved in the get. So how are you all involved in the get? That means all you people have put your signatures on the get.
If one of them wrote it, 9 of them signed it, would that be good?
Probably not. Probably not. Because he says kulchem. All of you. See, if he said, if he can say kulchem, and he speaks to 10 and says, one writes, 2 sign is okay. Right? So that means...
But that's consistent. That's consistent with the construction. But if you
I understand that, kulchem, I understand that. But over there, it's no proof to this. Could be here, they still you have to have 10 signatures on the get. Okay? So that's one halachic difference. If it was signed by 2 on the date, and the subsequent witness signed on the next day. According to Rabbi Yochanan, it's kosher. According to Rish Lakish, it's possible. Inami, of apostle. That one of the witnesses was found to be not qualified, not valid. He was either related or apostle. Mandiyom mishum tenai kosher, because all you have to have is 2. The other witnesses are what? Or a tenai. Lamandiyom mishum edim apostle. The one who says it's edim, it's apostle. Yeah, what are you going to ask?
Because Rish Lakish says before that it has to be. What if this case was they wrote it in the day and they signed it in the night, not 10 days later? 10
is left after.
So then
it's not specific. No, we're saying quote Rabbi Yochanan, even if it's 10 days, right? Not even, that's how far it's off the original date. It's not a problem going to Rabbi Yochanan.
I know Rabbi Yochanan, Rish Lakish. We just said.
When he says Atzora, it doesn't mean Atzora. It doesn't mean because we're talking about 10. It's possible even it's the next day, because that's the Mishnah. Kosa bayom v'chosma b'layla is possible.
Not according to Rish Lakish.
It's a Mishnah. The Mishnah says.
Yeah.
Mishnah says that if it's written at night, the day, and signed at night, it's possible. Does the Mishnah say that?
Okay.
So therefore, according to Rish Lakish, that all witnesses are classified as witnesses.
Right.
Was this get signed on the same day that it was written? The answer is no. Because sign means 10 witnesses had to sign. All 10 didn't sign. Okay? And the other difference is Nipsechon Korv Apostle. According to Rabbi Yochanan, it would not be a problem. According to Rish Lakish, now the question is, where did the first 2 sign? Were the first 2 apostle, or the subsequent witnesses were apostle? Okay? Well, the Gemara can explain. The Madi Yom Mishum Apostle, Mishum Eidim Apostle. Now there was Ichos B'Tchila Korv Apostle. Let's say initially, the first witnesses signed a document were Korv Apostle. Amri lo kosher, some say it's valid, Amri lo apostle. So if you say it's kosher, there's no question. Amri lo kosher, Tanai, definitely it's a Tanai, correct?
Has to be.
What about apostle?
Has to be Rish Lakish.
Doesn't have to be Rish Lakish, we'll see in a moment. Amri lo apostle, Osi lachlufi b'shtoris ta'alma. Of course, it can be confused with other documents. Take a look at Rashi. Amri lo kosher, Lamandi Yom Mishum Tanai, according to Rabbi Yochanan, that the other witnesses are purely to meet a condition. Avagav di ichtim bereisha korv apostle, oidus diskayim, biruyim leidus. How are we going to establish the witnesses through the other witnesses? And the other witnesses, the apostle, that they will be included in what? In the condition. They just have to sign. The mistoma, the mistoma, of course, the presumption is, Sheiremino, l'shem edus, v'akorov l'tanai. You know, it's like under the chuppah, usually the rabbi says, and he announces, it's the exclusion, these are the witnesses on the Kedoshim, to the exclusion of everyone else. Because we don't want any other person to have in mind that he's the witness, and so therefore you've designated the witnesses. The presumption is, he says, maybe if the first two signed who psulim, maybe he wanted they should be the witnesses, and the other ones should be the Tanai. So Rashi says, we could assume with certainty that which ones did he want to be the witnesses? Ones who are qualified to be witnesses. So therefore, even though the psulim or the korov signed first, he never wanted them to be. But if in his mind was the first two signed, let them be the witnesses, and the subsequent ones should be the Tanai, then you have a problem. Because otherwise, why did you have them sign first? Witnesses usually sign first. So that he said, we could say with certainty that was not his intent. Okay? What about the one that says Amr Laposo? Oslachlut Vishtoros, Talmud, the Kaman, the Chosam Bereisho. Since the two, the Korfoso, they signed first. Osi Lemema Zevadi L'Shemidus Chosam. So what are people going to say? They can say, first you have the witnesses, and then you have the Tanai. So people will say that the first two signed were witnesses, right, as witnesses, but we find out later that they're Korv Apostle. So and yet we validated the get. So therefore, rabbinically, we invalidate it because people say that even the Korv Apostle are qualified to testify, to sign a document.
Regular star only has two.
You could have the same thing by any star. But people say, if you're going to validate this, although people say usually the first two are the what? Are the kosher witnesses. So, and they turn out the first one or two of the first two was not qualified. How do you validate the get? What are people going to say? Evidently, you see, you don't have to be a kosher witness to satisfy the standard of edus. 1 second. V'yachshir korv b'chol ashtoros.
But if you have a star, wouldn't
What?
you say, if you have a regular star, with the same conditions, it should be applied.
Same thing.
I understand that, Rabbi. If you have 10 witnesses and the first two are not valid, why would we even consider? Why would we consider this kosher? Why would you even consider?
No, so that's what Rashi said. Some say it's kosher.
Why?
Wait, 1 second. Because it's. You tell me why. If it's tonight, let's say it's tonight. Why does he want 10 people on this get? Because he wants to embarrass the woman.
Right.
So how many kosher do you need? You only need 2 of the 10 to be kosher.
Right.
So we say that, although the apostle signed first, those are not the witnesses you want. Should
Fine. Tonight, I understand. But the
even the apostle is also tonight. It's what people will say. We're only saying that, even if it's kosher, we're saying because we would say with certainty that his intent was only the kosher witnesses should be the witnesses. So even though they signed later.
Right.
But actually, normally when you sign witnesses on document, which ones are usually the kosher witness? The first two.
Right.
So what are people going to draw from this? They can say, even though a witness is Korv Apostle, he's a qualified witness, and that's a problem.
And therefore,
Rabbinically, we invalidate it. Rabbinically, we invalidate the get.
even though people say that.
That's because people will say. Even though his intent was only the witness should be only the qualified witnesses, not the Korv Apostle, but since normally when you sign witnesses, the first two are the witnesses, and the first here, one or the two of the first were Korv Apostle, therefore we validate it. Because people will draw from here that you don't have to have a kosher witness to be a witness.
Now, what about when it's not a tonight? Are we addressing that at all right now?
It's not that's understood, it's Apostle.
Plus, no matter what.
That's Reish Lakish's position.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I...
That's understood, it's Apostle. Okay? Yeah. I'd like to, the Tosas we had from yesterday, we didn't do yesterday. Yesterday we discussed the case. Reb Shimon says that if you have a get written at night, during the day, and signed at night, it's valid. Right? And everybody agrees. Even Reb Yochanan agrees. Why do you have to put a date in the get according to Reb Shimon? Mishum Peirus. Right? Even Reb Yochanan agrees. It's not because the uncle will protect his wife if she committed adultery. Right? So, Gemara says, but factually, it's a predated get. Right? The document's predated. So what happens if the husband would sell the usufrucht before it's signed? Right? And the date is the previous day. So the wife's going to take the get and say, look, he had no right to sell it, even though he did have a right to sell it. So Gemara says, no. Reb Shimon is of the opinion, Mishanos and Einav Lagarsha. The moment he's indicated he wants to divorce her, he loses his rights. So therefore, even though the signatures were the next day, she's not doing anything illegal by claiming the usufrucht was hers, because he already had forfeited it.
The get was written.
The get was only written. Just taking the initial right to get, although it wasn't a completed document, that's enough for him to forfeit his rights. Okay?
If you hired the sofer, but the sofer hadn't started yet,
It's not enough.
it's not enough. So
Right.
The finish of the writing is what's classified as...
We said earlier, Eino da Magdim Prunos al Nafshe. Remember, the Gemara asked the question, maybe a man has the document written, and he wants to see whether they could have a reconciliation, but what's Magdim Inish Prunos al Nafshe? That document is an indication that it's over. So therefore, what's Nosna of Lagarsha? I'm just bringing out. Shimon is an agreement. It's not he said he made a statement, I will divorce you. He had to take the decision, hiring the sofa is not enough. The document had to be minimally written. If the document wasn't written, that's not Nosna of Lagarsha, according to Reb Shimon. Okay? So Mari said, but even according to Reb Shimon, right, that's only if it's given immediately. But he said it should be given after 10 days. Then there's a concern that maybe there was a reconciliation and he had relations with her, and therefore the get is a get yoshan. Rabbi Yochanan says, no, we're not worried about get yoshan, because if anything happened, word would get out. And Rashi says, because the neighbors hear quarreling every night, and all of a sudden there's quiet, so therefore that's an indication that since we didn't hear any quiet, the bickering continued, therefore we know he did not have relations with her. Therefore the get maintains its kosher status. That's how Rashi explained the Gemara, right? So Tosas asked a number of questions. We said earlier that a person gives a get to a third party and says, when I tell you to give it, you give it. We say it's valid, right? There's mashlish get biyad acher. He gives the get to a third party. He keeps it there for safekeeping. He said, when I tell you to so they were not worried he maybe had relations. So he explains that if a person sends a get overseas, right, there's a concern that's, why is he divorcing her? Because he's concerned that if he doesn't, she may end up in Naguna. So the relationship hasn't deteriorated. It's not because the relationship deteriorated.
Why overseas? Why is that overseas?
Meaning he's sending it long distance. They're not in the same community. When they're not in the same community, it doesn't necessarily
One reason why they get divorced?
Why is he giving a get? Because he's worried. He's worried for her. That she may be in a position that she won't know if she's married or not married. So therefore, in that situation, if that is a concern, then maybe they got together before the get actually was given. But if they're living in the same community and there's no reason, so why do you write the get? Right? Evidently, it's a strained relationship. So the presumption, unless we know that things were better, the presumption is they're not better. Therefore, they did not get together. Right? That's how Tosas differentiated between the different cases. Okay? So, go ahead.
On this basis, if they took more than 10 days to do the 10 witnesses on the get, in the case where he asked 10 people to sign the get, given that it's not about reconciling, it's about humiliating the woman or whatever it is.
According to Rishlok, according to Rabbi Yochanan.
We would see that the 10-day rule would not apply in that case, because the rationale is completely different. The 10-day rule seems to only apply in the case where the marriage is teetering. We don't know whether they're going to reconcile or not. But in a case where the pure motivation, according to Rashi, was to humiliate the Why would the 10-day rule apply in that case?
Again. Okay. You have to be clear. We were saying that if, let's say according to Rabbi Yochanan, the two witnesses that signed on the date that it was dated, the get is completed. One second. Oh, wait. According to the other opinion, it's possible. It's possible. If it was not written on that same day, it's possible. That's written on one day and signed on the next day.
All 10 signed.
No, if even two signed, all 9 signed on the same day, and the 10th didn't sign till a day later, it's possible according to Rish Lakish. We're not going to Reb Shimon. Now we're going to Reb.
In Reb Shimon, would he say,
Yeah.
in that case of 10 people, where you have this 10-day window, would you have a limit on the window according to Reb Shimon? Reb Shimon has a 10-day window, but it seems
10 days
only
doesn't mean
because
anything.
There's a possibility that they could reconcile.
Rabbi Yochanan says that's according to Rish Lakish. Rabbi Yochanan is no problem. Rabbi Yochanan is even according to Reb Shimon, it's not a problem. Because if anything would happen, word would get out.
But it could be 8 days.
It doesn't mean, it means it was delayed. It means it was delayed.
It's not 10, is not. Don't take that literally. It could be 5.
Okay. We're holding the second toast of Shem Piyus. Shem Piyus. What's the Rish Lakish says there's a concern, maybe there was reconciliation. Maybe he appeased her. Pirush Kodesh, Shem is Yachid Imo, and as a result of that appeasement, that reconciliation, he sequestered himself with his wife, Vaviget Yoshon, and therefore they had relations. Ve'nirlo Rabbeinu Tam. Rabbeinu Tam rejects Rashi. Piyus does not mean that Nisyachid Imo, as a result of the appeasement. Dobesov Perk Misha also, Komar, Uleget Yoshon Echoshin. It says over there, and we're not concerned that it's a get Yoshon. Why should it lo Nisyachid Imo? Because he did not seclude himself with his wife. Listen, Sidmar asks, Sidmar says, it's not a get Yoshon because he didn't sequester himself with his wife. Uporach alo v'lecho shem piyes. So it says, even though he didn't sequester himself, maybe there was reconciliation. So what do you see? What? That piyes and nisyachid are two different things. Rashi is learning as a result of the appeasement, it means yichud. And over there, Gemara says, and we're not concerned they were miyached because Shema peace. Right? The Gemara says, but even that may be the case, but maybe there was peace, he appeased her. So if he appeased her, so therefore what? But if the basis for the invalidation, if the appeasement is yichud, so if we know they were miyached, so what's the problem? You understand what Tosas is asking on Rashi? Rashi, what is Shema peace? As a result of the appeasement, therefore they was nisyachid. They had relations. The Gemara says over there that we're not concerned that he was miyachid with her. Therefore, it's not a get yoshev. But maybe there was appeasement. But whatever it's speaking about over there, because they're not together. We're not. But even that. But maybe it was PAs. Maybe appeasement, and that's why you should invalidate the get. So we see appeasement and yichud are two different things. That's. It's not such a strong question because you can say. Why?
Why? Because it's you assume that if there's reconciliation, you have to assume there's yichud. Why?
That's what Rashi says. The Morish says, "Well, the get Yoshin Echoshim Shirelo Nisyachud." Because what does Melod say? We know they weren't miyachid. So Rabbeinu Tam's learning liyachud. Factually, we know it's not. We presume they weren't miyachid. We know they weren't miyachid. So Morish says, but even though we know they weren't, we should still invalidate it because Shema P.A.s. That's the way Rabbeinu Tam's learning the Gemara. So clearly, P.A.s appeasement doesn't mean. We know factually they didn't sequester themselves together. So we see it's two separate things, and we'll see why. So why do you, so for appeasement? Why is that a reason to invalidate the get? We'll see. So Rabbeinu Tam because of this says go the lomale lemifrach shem apis u'shem get yoshan hosam the koyahid hariz the gida chosmat she'ever mineged ponayich shloshim yom bosi b'kanta okay Gomer Rabbeinu Tam. So how does Rabbeinu Tam learn shem apis? The hocha shem here. B'reish per kol haget wrote Saloma Shema P.A.s ubitel. Maybe he invalidated the get. If a husband writes a get to be given, and the husband says, "I want the get to be nullified. I don't want the get to be given," the get is invalidated. It's invalidated. So over here, let's say he originally wrote the get. Now he regrets he wrote the get because of this reconciliation, this appeasement. The get is invalidated. Has nothing to do because he had relations with her.
All he has to do is say, I don't want it anymore. That's it.
There's a discussion later in Gitten. Person sends a get with a shliach,
Right.
then he cancels the shliach unbeknown to the shliach. The agent doesn't know. So rabbinically, and then the man, the shliach, delivers the get to the woman. You have serious problems because the woman believing that the get is still that the shliach is representing the husband, she's going to get married based on that divorce document. But factually, the shliach is not representing the husband any longer. So in actuality, you have a married woman marrying again. So what do you do? So Chazal said, you know what we do? We annul the marriage because otherwise we have serious problems over here. The first marriage.
The first marriage.
Otherwise, you can have mamzerim. I mean, how is the woman supposed to know? Or the agent is not aware that he was canceled as the agent, right? We'll see the fourth parak. What?
Married a Kohen.
She can't marry a Kohen.
There was no original.
We treat her like a divorced woman.
No.
We treat her like a divorced woman. It's as if as if he never canceled the agent. So rabbinically, she can't marry a Kohen. Okay? So over there, V'omar Getzesh and Zati Botelu. Raslom Shema, Pies, as a result of the appeasement, he said, the get that I gave you is nullified. He says, I want the witness to sign over a 10-day period. Ol alter. And it took him a while. They were delayed, and they signed over a 10-day period. And the husband wasn't there to instruct him to sign. If the husband's there to instruct him to sign, so it's clear his position hasn't changed. But let's he said it should be signed immediately, and they didn't. And they delayed signing, according to Reb Shimon, and the husband's not here. So the Gemara asks, maybe Shem Pies. Maybe since he wasn't there, maybe he had a change of mind, and he nullified the get. Lochi Chashin Shem Pies ubitel shluchusam shlomidato chosmo. See, he canceled the agency. Avodim Omar, avodim Achar Asar Yom Tzivolem Lachtom Kosher. Dafil Botla get Kodem Hokaimel Karav Nachman Dom Reisha Shaleach the Chozim Megarishbo. The question is, if originally you say I don't want a get to be given, do you have to write a new get because the first get was canceled? Well, no. The whole idea is because he doesn't want it to be given. But if he wants to reinstate the same get, the get can be reinstated. So if it's Shema Pies, if it's in a nullified state, you can't use it. But if you let's say he's there, after 10 days he says, I want you to give the get. Right? We're not concerned Shema Pies.
Even though it was dated before.
Go according to Reb Shimon. And according to Rabbi Yochanan, it's not a problem because there's a cold. Okay. So he's learning a whole different understanding of Shema Pies. Okay, let's go further. Hahudi Omalu Lasora. A person said to 10 people, Kisu get lishti. A person said to 10 people, Hahudi Omalu Lasora, Kisu get lishti. Chosim Beitrei Minayu. Biyomeg. So 2 of the 10 signed itself. So it was dated and signed by 2 witnesses on that date. Ve'enach Mikan Basori Yomi. This we just had the Machlokes Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish. The halachic difference. According to Rabbi Yochanan, it was valid. According to Reish Lakish, it was not valid. Also, Lakamei Rabbi Shua ben Levi. So they came before Rabbi Shua ben Levi. Is it valid or not? Because it was signed. It wasn't signed on what? On the day that it was written. I mean, all the witnesses. Omar lehu. Kedayu Reb Shimon lismocholo b'shas adchak. 1 second. The Reb Shimon, although whenever we have machlokes Reb Shimon and the Chachamim, we rule like the Chachamim. Reb Shimon you could be relied on when you have no choice. I mean, if it's a question of validating the get, we speak where the get was used. You have no other get, you could use the get. Rashi says, "The vasistom nichta b'yom nechem b'lay l'kosher lismochol b'shas adchak sholu zel ledarko o nisis kvar b'getzeh." Let's say her husband's not here any longer, so the woman's going to remain anaguna. Or let's say she married already with this get. So if you're going to validate the get, it's because it's considered adultery.
This isn't the case where he said all pensions.
What's that? He said, no. He did. He said 10 and 2 signed immediately, and the others... That is the case. Kids who get chosam trade, if they both signed on the same date, it's not a problem. It has nothing to do with Reb Shimon the Chachamim. So that means he wants them all to be witnesses. So 2 signed initially, and the other ones, right, signed later. We rule like the Chachamim that it's not valid. Okay? So he says, what's the case of Shas Adchak? Was she already married? With this get, according to Reb Shimon's vow, according to Chachamim, it's not a valid get. It's considered adultery. Okay? Rabbinically, she's not permitted to remain with the husband.
But in this case, isn't the answer even... It sounds like this is a very complicated way to go about it. When I asked the question originally, I said it depends on what the man's intent is. And the answer that you gave was, we don't know what his intent was, and so they're debating on how to rule when you don't know. But here the same man is coming to ask for psak. So isn't this the answer to him?
Psak.
He's coming to Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi for a psak, the man himself. So isn't the question, can you tell me what it is that you intended? If you intended and sign...
But that question is always a question. Gemara always asks what asks a man. You don't believe him. You
don't believe.
The question: how to evaluate what does the average person think? So what he's telling me now.
Person, not what did he think.
No, everybody's evaluated based on what the average person would have thought. So what he tells me today may not be what the average person thinks.
But even though he was very specific in
but again,
mind,
we can't believe him. But you can't believe him. You don't know what he really thought. You don't know what he thought.
Saying.
That's what he's saying. Person not believe.
Don't know.
Correct.
Okay. All right.